Hey, what is
What's
going
up? What's
on?
up?
I hope everyone's having a good week. The week before Thanksgiving,
Oh, baby,
which,
baby. Can't,
by the way, just a quick announcement: we are taking next week off to celebrate Thanksgiving, so there will
I'm actually
be.
glad you. I'm glad you said it because I actually forgot. And I got to get ready for my Turkey Trot 5K ultra marathon. Man, I'm ready to try one of those out. So gotta carbo load the day before.
Yeah,
Get the hydration right.
some
For this
fettuccine
5K.
Alfredo.
That's gotta be one of the best episodes of The Office ever, right?
The
Where
best.
Michael eats all the fettuccine.
The
Oh,
race
that's
for the cure
awesome.
for rabies.
Yeah, that's so
All
awesome.
right. Well, we have a very special guest tonight. And Josh, I've probably been saying your last name wrong this whole time. I probably should have verified that before we start recording. But how do you pronounce your last name?
It's Sisson.
Sisson?
Okay.
I guess that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
it looks like.
I was close.
I will say,
I was
Josh.
saying Sisson.
I will say,
Yeah.
Josh.
A little more emphasis on the last syllable.
Sisson, yeah. We realize that we're like, we totally wasted our time last week with Cole. We're like, the true legend that should have been on last week should have been Josh. We're like, son of a bitch. Like, but no, we spent all that time and energy talking to the fast guy last week. We should have had the real legend on and had Josh on last week. So
That's right.
our apologies for having you on a week late.
No, I enjoyed the episode with Cole. That guy's a stud.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
It was cool to listen to you guys talk to him.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into running? How did kind of like tell us about the growth to where you are now?
Yeah, so I didn't really get started running until I was already kind of in my mid-30s, so about 5 years ago. I had done different sports throughout most of my life, but not really running. I grew up wrestling, and so I did that from the time I was 8 years old up through my senior year of high school. And I did about 9 years of competitive judo when I was an adult, and a couple of years of Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And so like all those sports required me to run just to cut weight.
Yeah.
But I never really just ran for the sake of running, though. It was always to make weight. So I always kind of associated running with like punishment, you know. And I never really got into running just for the sake of running until 2019 in St. Louis. We got a chapter of Achilles International established here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
That's basically, for people that don't know, it's an organization that supports runners with different types of disabilities to help people be able to train and get to go do races and events, you know, throughout the country and the world. And so I didn't know anything about it until we got our chapter here locally. And so I started going to practices, and I just started out running like 5Ks and 10Ks. And I didn't really go into it thinking that I would be good at it or anything like that. I thought it would be just a way to get outdoors and sort of have something else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens with me a lot. Like I am very competitive, so like just simply participating in things is rarely enough. And so once I started doing some races and placing, you know, fairly high, then I just wanted to do more, and I just like kept increasing the distances. And so I did my first half marathon pretty quickly and graduated to marathons, and so yeah, so now I've done 6 marathons so far and 2 ultras now.
one of those ultras being Tunnel Hill 50 mile, right?
Right. Yeah. The only other ultra that I've done prior to that was I did like a 6-hour endurance race in July. There's an event here near St. Louis called Get Your Butt Kicked at Route 66.
Okay,
and
nice.
So that was my first attempt at doing, more than the marathon distance, and I did a little over 33 miles.
Okay.
For that one.
Is that like a paved loop or something like that?
It's at this state park, and it is a loop. It's like about a 2.4 mile loop, and so it's on this trail, and it's not very technical or anything. It's fairly smooth. There were some parts that were pretty washed out, and so there were some surface changes. Like some of it was gravel, some of it was more like pavement. So like the terrain was kind of varied, but it was pretty smooth and mostly flat. It was not a bad trail for my first try at the ultra distance, but I experimented with some different, like, normally when I run with a guide, and I use like a hand tether, which is basically just like a stretchy kind of elastic, basically like a headband, but there's enough give to it to where we're not getting our feet tangled up or anything.
Yeah.
But also not so much give that I'm like wandering off the trail. For the 6-hour event that I did, I used a waist tether for most of it, just because I thought I would want to have both my hands free.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the waist tether, it was cool. I liked the feeling of running with both hands free. It kind of made me feel like I wasn't being guided at all.
Right.
But also I had to concentrate more. Like I had to pay way more attention to what was going on, like with surface changes and things. Because I just wasn't used to running like that. So I went back to the normal tether for Tunnel Hill, since it's mostly like, basically straight lines. I had 4 guides that I was splitting up the distance with, so nobody was gonna get too tired, other than me.
as it should be, right?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Do you rely on the guide? Correct. Do you rely on the guide to like advise you of like obstacles, terrain change? Do you rely on them for that kind of stuff, or how do you kind of stay alert of it?
Yeah, mostly I just need them to tell me, like, if there's turns coming up, if we're going to be turning left or right, if there's going to be uphill, downhill. I mean, obviously, like, I can feel what's happening, but it's good to know that we're going uphill, and it's not that I'm just like, my legs aren't just suddenly dead.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of like you being like a quarter mile into a steady climb, like, God, I'm really trying. And the guy's like, oh shit, I zoned out. By the way, we started climbing a quarter mile back. My bad, man. That is awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Pretty much just stuff like that, turns, hills, any, like, there's like a street crossing coming up, surface changes, like going from gravel to dirt or whatever, grass, whatever it happens to be.
So earlier you had mentioned that you're like naturally a pretty competitive person, right? So knowing what level of addiction can happen with ultra running in general, and then factoring in the fact that you're a competitive kind of person, have we already signed up for 100K? Have we already signed up for a 100-miler? Like what have we already done post Tunnel Hill?
I haven't signed up for anything yet, but there definitely will be more.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Like people that ask me, how I felt at the end, like I pretty much just tell them, like when I finished that 50, I've never experienced that level of discomfort ever in my life. Like just like just extreme fatigue, and all I wanted to do was just sit down and not move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, my first thought was like, I got to do better,
Yeah.
And so yeah, I didn't go into it being like a bucket list kind of check the box type thing. Like, I always planned on doing lots of them, as long as I can find the guides to go do it with me. It was not going to be just a one and done deal. And yeah, and that's, I still feel the same way now.
Do you mind talking a little bit about that, about how you find guides? Are they part of the organization that you were talking about, or do you have to seek them out?
Yeah, so three of the guys that were with me at Tunnel Hill were people that I met through Achilles. This guy Robert is a friend of mine that I've known the longest out of the group, and I met him, through another guide that I'd already met from Achilles, and and then Robert ended up joining Achilles too, and Kevin and Ryan were two of my other guides at Tunnel Hill, also that I met through Achilles. The only member of our group that wasn't an Achilles volunteer was Alex, and he's a guy that just happens to work in the same building that I do, and he saw me running on a treadmill at the gym in the basement of our building one day, and we just kind of struck up a friendship after that, because he just wanted to know why I'm on the treadmill so much.
Yeah.
And it turned out that he'd done some running too and wanted to get back into it. And when he found out that we were doing this 50 miler, and he wanted to be part of it too. So
that's very cool.
Is
he an ultra runner as well?
No, I mean, he'd done a couple marathons. He had been from, like, he was living in Los Angeles for a while, and I think he did a couple marathons out there. But since he had moved back to the St. Louis area, he had kind of gotten out of the routine of running, and so he was getting back into it. But I didn't need him to run that fast, really, because by the time I got to his point of the ultra, I was already pretty tired. So I just needed somebody who could maintain a steady pace,
Yeah.
So did they each cover around? You said there was a total of 3 or 4 for Tunnel Hill?
4 guides. Ryan Yack is the guy who kind of helped plan this and handle all the logistics, and he's been kind of like my ultra running coach and advisor, I guess you'd say. Like, he was really the first person that I met that really planted the seed in my mind that, like, this was actually feasible, because I had done the marathons, and they had gone fairly well, but it can be hard to find guides just for that distance.
Yeah. Right.
So I was thinking, because I like to, I listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts and things. And so I had done like the whole deep dive on like David Goggins and Scott Jurek and, all these crazy endurance athletes. And I'm like really fascinated by, these athletes that can perform these amazing feats of endurance. And so I'd read about these things, but I'd always kind of figured, like, well, this is really interesting, but I probably won't be able to participate in this. Because, I mean, first of all, I'm not sure I can do it physically. And secondly, I'll never be able to find guides that are going to be down with this,
Yeah. It is a funny thing.
So,
like, look, it is a funny thing looking for like the other group of people. Like, hey, do you want to be attached to a smelly person for like 12 straight hours? Like, hell yeah, I do. Like, let's go, sign me up. Like,
exactly.
I have a question for you, and I'm kind of curious about it. And I the only way I know how to ask is just to ask it. Like, all right, on the road, right? Like, you can feel what's underneath your feet. You got to be made aware of turns and stuff like that, right? Tunnel hill, crushed limestone, no turns other than you turning around and head back the other direction. What about like technical trails? Like, are you what's your ability, or is your ability as wide open as basically your aide's ability to be like, hey, don't trip over this big route we're coming up to? Like, do you have the ability, or do you see yourself having the ability of like running on really technical trail, or is it something where like, hey, let's just knock out crushed limestone ultras? Like, what's kind of the thoughts there?
I mean, we definitely picked Tunnel Hill because of how smooth and flat it is.
Yeah.
That surface is nicer than most. Like, that was nicer than the park that I usually run at for practice.
Yeah.
So I know that they're not all going to be like that. I mostly, to this point, I've been mostly a road runner. I don't have really any experience on technical trails. I'm curious about it. Like, I want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
That's where it's going to be harder to find guides also. I mean, like, I think in a situation where it's a technical trail, like, the guide's probably not going to be able to warn me about every little thing.
Right.
And I'm just going to have to be on alert and focused, and I'm not going to be able to have the earbuds in or anything like that. I'm going to have to be paying attention to what I'm doing. And I think it's doable. Like, I don't want to have to limit my options to only doing ultras that are, on roads or tracks or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, these people that do, these 24-hour events or multi-day events on 200-meter tracks or whatever are crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how people do that. I mean, I'll do that if I have to, I guess, but like, I would like to venture out onto the trails at some point.
I think it'd be really kind of cool to, I don't know, Jamie, I'd love to have Josh come to Mo and run with him at Mo. It just so I would get something out of the experience to run with Josh and be like trying to guide and like, navigate through the rocks, the roots. The other thought that I have, I think is really interesting, and I know surely it's happened, is Josh, you had mentioned that there's like the waist ones, right? Like the where you're connected, right? How long is that? It can't be more than like a foot or so between you and a runner, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where most people would have it. It is adjustable, so you can add slack to it or take it out.
Okay. Because here's my other thought. I can see, and my dumbass trips and falls over stuff.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine Josh being like, connected to me. I trip and like there goes me and Josh into the weeds. Like, I drag him down. Like, I think that's the other part that's really fascinating about guiding someone on a trail like that, where it's really, really technical. Like, dude, I fall all the time. Like, I have moved the earth before where my big ass has fallen over stuff. So I can't imagine what it's like to try to help somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I think that'd be really interesting to experience, even for me.
Yeah. There's definitely blind runners that are out on the technical trails, because there was a blind runner that competed in Western States this year, and I think he finished just like really close to the cut. I mean, he was like a minute over or something. He was
That's
really
right.
close.
That's right. Yep.
Super close.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've encountered blind runners out just doing training runs where they had the guide, and the guide was yelling out every single, like constantly giving instruction. So I'm sure there's a skill there for the guide as well.
I don't think I would want them to call out every last thing. I think if I know that it's going to be technical like that going into it, then I'll know to be like on my guard.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance, maybe. Like, I don't want my guide to feel pressured to have to like notice every little thing.
Yeah. You just going with the high knees mentality.
high knee short. Josh, have you been blind your whole life?
Almost. I lost all my vision when I was like 5 years old.
Okay.
So I remember being able to see, but it was a long time ago, and I obviously none of the sports that I did, like all that happened after I'd already lost my sight.
Mm-hmm. The reason I asked was the reasoning for my asking was not just be like nosy and since the reason I asked is like there's clearly a really heightened skill set at walking, running, and just like that ability to like immediately sense like a toe grab or like a trip hazard or something like that, where like you've had to learn that skill, and like I clearly do not have it because I fall all the time. So that's why I asked. Like you said, like I wouldn't even want my guy to call out everything, because you have learned over the years to like I will shorten my stride, I'll lift my knees, and like I will feel stuff on my own. I don't need everything called out.
I'm thinking the hand tether might be the way to go for the technical trail, though, just so that one of us doesn't drag the other down. If we do take a spill,
you
can let go of the.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, as far as like just regular running, like like I've run enough to where it doesn't, like, it's pretty second nature, and I don't really think about it that much if I'm on a normal path or road or whatever. So most of the time I don't really need, I don't need a whole lot from my guide. And we run at Forest Park so much that I pretty much have the outer loop around there memorized anyway. I can pretty much tell exactly where I am, based on, what the ground under me feels like. So.
Wow.
You also just said something that was a weird aha moment for me of like, well, yeah, that's common sense. Now that I heard it out loud, I'm like, I'm an idiot for not making that immediate connection. The hand tether you actually hold on to, each person is holding on. In my mind initially, even though it was a hand, I had it imagined like it was a handcuff. Like you know what I mean? Like two inmates shackled together is what my mind first went to. But no, it's like more of like you're holding on to one side of it, they're holding on the other side of it. That way, if you feel it's a give, you can let go. That makes so much more sense.
I mean, it literally.
Okay.
I just buy like cheap bands on Amazon, pretty much, and just use them for tethers because they're a good. Like I said, they're stretchy enough to where there's enough give to where it's comfortable, and then also not too much to where I'm wandering off.
And does the guide always go in front of you or behind?
I like to have my guide on my left side, and usually they would be maybe right even with me, or maybe a half step ahead of me. depending on the guide. I mean, sometimes I will kind of, if I'm wanting to push the pace and my guide doesn't want to, like sometimes I'll end up ahead, but that's not an ideal situation.
That's awesome.
Let's talk about your pace a little bit, because you have had some excellent finish times. In that Route 66, you did 33.19 miles in 6 hours, and that was good for 10th overall. And in Tunnel Hill, you did 9 hours and 18 minutes. So you burned down that 50 miler and got 55 out of 255 for the men, 76 overall out of 392 runners. So you're you're definitely, your competitive side is definitely showing through. So congrats on your strong finishing times at those races.
Thanks. With Tunnel Hill, I started out too fast probably, but that's kind of what I do. I did like the first 26 miles in about 4 hours. And then it got progressively slower from there. I started,
as I said, I feel like that's kind of the story of every like new ultra runner, right? Like just going out and like hammering it way too hard on the first, like
feeling good.
This is great. Like I should have done these a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right. It feels so easy at first, And I was feeling really good, but like around mile 30, I started having some stomach distress. That was kind of coming at me in waves. And so that slowed me down, and I hadn't really experienced that before. I was on a very like regimented plan as far as nutrition. Like I mentioned Ryan before and how he did a lot of the planning, and he's done lots of ultras. He's very accomplished at everything from 50Ks to 100 miles. And so we worked out my nutrition plan where I was, taking an energy gel every 3 miles and drinking a liter of Tailwind every 6 miles and hammering the electrolyte tablets. And I didn't actually eat any real food though. I just had, goo and caffeine, and electrolytes. And I don't know. I was having some digestive issues. That, like, for the 6 hour race, I did all the same things, but the only difference was I ate. I had some peanut butter and jelly, and that seemed to help. So I think next time I'll maybe try to eat some more actual solid food.
Yeah. I feel like you have to, right? Like I've definitely tried. I've definitely tried to muster my way through races on like just gels, just to, for no other better reason, just to see what would happen. You know what I mean? I've definitely done it. It is amazing the havoc pure gels, like solid just gels, will wreak on your digestive system during. But then, like 2 days post race, it's amazing what goes down. So adding in a little bit of like solid food, it is interesting how it just kind of helps like add some like substance that doesn't really.
And so the Tailwind too, I found, I've back in the earlier years of my ultra running, I was using primarily Tailwind, and I found that the balance was not working for me. The balance of sugar to sodium, and it was actually making my teeth hurt. Just drinking it because of the sugar. And I did quit using Tailwind, and I switched to gels, and mixing in solid food, peanut butter and jelly, potatoes. I think it's important to get a mix of that stuff in. But yeah, you can definitely consume too much of the gels and electrolytes, and that can definitely wreak havoc on your stomach and have stuff sloshing around in there. But that's all part of the learning process. I'm sure you're figuring out. It's you'll eventually figure out what works the best for you. You'll fine tune it, and you'll get it dialed in. It's a bunch of trial and error, and problem solving is the biggest component to the sport of ultra running is becoming a good problem solver. So yes, keep experimenting.
Yeah, congratulations on the run. Super happy that you're on the podcast with us this week. I just loved everything about the story. I just think it's super cool what you accomplished. So just congratulations on finishing that 50 miler and like just destroying it. We're gonna go ahead and start going over some of the results from the previous weekend. As we do it, Josh, like feel free to chime in, give your thoughts on some of the different races we talk about. This FKT, Jamie, holy hell! Let's just like start off with the big stuff, and love to hear Josh if you have any insight on it, or if you want to give some feedback. But Jamie, let's talk about some of these races, some of these results.
When I first started listening, like when I first discovered your guys' show and started listening to the podcast, like I didn't even know what FKT meant. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? Right? So I figured it out eventually. But
and now, like what's crazy is, holy Josh, Jamie, think about that. You could just go around and dominate FKTs, Josh.
Yeah, right.
Like, blind supported FKT, dude. You can just go around and start just.
That's right. You could have your own category for sure,
dude. That'd be dope. Like you could own the state of Missouri in like a month and a half.
Have you always lived in St. Louis, Josh?
No, I'm actually from the Kansas City area originally.
Okay.
I just moved to St. Louis in 2016. But I've spent most of my life in Missouri. I went to college here. I had a brief stint in Washington, D.C. when I did my college internship. But other than that, it's been all Kansas City or St. Louis.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
So on the last show, as we were talking to Cole and we were going over the FKT that was set on the Arizona Trail by who had said it last weekend? Why am I drawing a blank on this? Nick
the one
Fowler?
right now?
Nick Fowler. So Nick Fowler had set the FKT just before we recorded last week, and we found out that Georgia Porter was going for the women's overall and women's supported FKT, and we knew that she was going to finish sometime after we finished recording, and I thought she was starting day 17 that morning, so I thought it was going to be really close, but it turns out that she would start she was starting day 17, but she finished in 16 days and 22 hours and 6 minutes on the Arizona Trail. That's about 48 miles a day, and Arizona Trail is 118,000 feet of climbing and 817 miles. And the previous record was 17 for the women was 17 days and 11 hours and 3 minutes. So Georgia did finish after we were done recording, and she set the FKT, by a good 12 hours, 13 hours. So pretty impressive.
On the note of Georgia, like I think it's there's so many like top tier elite runners out there. It's really hard to keep track of who they are, what have they done, da-da-da-da-da. Georgia's resume is absolutely sick. Like it's 2023 one high lonesome, right? One high lonesome, like, so she can run up at the elevation, right? She run rabbit run 100 miler. She took fourth at.
That's a very competitive race too.
Yeah. And so like you're taking fourth there, you know what I mean? She run rabbit run 50 miler the year before. She did, she did well at Gorge Waterfalls, right? We talked about that earlier this year. That's a super competitive up in the PNW.
Super competitive.
Super. Oh, by the way, we want to talk more about super competitive. You know, Black Canyon 60K. Like she got
second at that.
Yeah, like she's the real deal, man. And so it's kind of cool to watch her go from her range of ability is kind of impressive, right? Because oh, by the way, she's a U.S. Olympic marathon trials, right?
Right in 2020,
she's hammering
2:38 marathon.
Yeah, just a little 2:38 marathon, no big whoop. So she's doing that, right? And then kind of like your quote unquote traditional marathon, or ultra marathon kind of distances. But then to knock out the Arizona Trail, it's like, yo, that's a big boy. That's a long and either hot or snowy or wet or that's a tough one, man. It's a super cool story.
And if you look at her Instagram page, it looks like she had a little bit of all the weather.
Yeah, she got it all. She got all of it.
And super impressive. She went north to south, just like Nick did. Started at the Utah-Arizona border, finished at the Arizona-Mexico border.
So I guess with some relatively easy, I guess if I wasn't a lazy POS, I could probably figure this out quite easily. But alas, here we are. Did she start before or after Nick?
After. Well, I can let me pull up.
Oh, it would be on FKT's site, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
And so here's the cool thing in my mind. I think you and I even talked about this a little bit when we talked about Tara and Mike out on the AT together, right? In my mind, there's so many of these uber elites out here doing these FKTs on these really well-known trails right now. I think it's really funny to think about them passing one another and high-fiving at mock Jesus tearing down the trail, or gaming them as they come on your left, and I just think it's really funny, to think about the camaraderie that they probably have out there for the minute or two while they're there with each other. You know what I mean?
I remember, was it last year or the year before where I think Aravaipa sponsored it or they were covering it, but they did a Arizona Trail FKT challenge, and Michael McKnight was part of that, and he started at one end, and I can't remember who the other guy was that started at the other end. They were
really,
and they were kind of live streaming or updating it as it went.
Yeah,
but it was McKnight versus whoever, so they were going to cross paths at some point in the trail, but
and Aravaipa being Aravaipa, they had a drone up in the air, waiting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I don't think either one of them finished it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a cool concept. But it looks like Georgia was 16 days, 22 hours, and 6 minutes. And it's showing 11:14. I'm guessing that's her finish date. And Nick was 12 days, 17 hours, finishing on 11:09.
11:09, yeah.
So that's 5 days. So I think she started after.
Yeah. Again, if there was a way to do some basic elementary math, and figure that out on the spot.
We do ultra math. We call it ultra math, Josh, where you don't really know, your head's so out of it from the race that you're your calculations are all off. So, but we do ultra math even when we're not running.
That's about the only type of math I'm capable of. So,
dude, you're perfect for this sport, man.
You fit right in. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, so and I'm looking at the FKT website here. Art Brody holds the unsupported FKT on the Arizona Trail. Now, unsupported is you can't even do drops.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that was 28 days, 3 hours and 11 minutes. I don't even know.
So what do you do when unsupported? You're just foraging for grubs. Like, how do you?
Yeah.
Out there,
wild berries.
You have to start with all your calories, basically.
Yeah. Out there, out on the Arizona Trail. I think. I mean, for the reasons that Josh is kind of funny enough alluding to, like it really does become a. I mean, like, you got to be a good rucker, right? Like, you got to be you got to be able to put that weight on your back and be like, all right, let's just lean forward and kind of move forward at a semi-quick shuffle and just be able to carry mad amounts of weight. Cause like, that's all you've got to take all that water and, or a water purifier and hope to God you come across a live spring still out there that it has been a dry year.
Yeah. I think there was a thing where you could use a public water source, but there was some rules around that. I don't know. We got into it one time, but
it had to be like fully accessible to all public all the time or something like that. Like, it couldn't be. Yeah. You couldn't have them specially turn it on for you. Like, it had to be like always there kind of thing.
Yeah.
But out on that AT, I wouldn't trust that out on that Arizona Trail. There's no way on earth I'd trust that.
I don't think you can like purchase it at a gas station or anything like that. Yep. Maybe you could drink out of the hose out back. I don't know.
Hobo style.
Yeah. So anyways, congrats to Georgia on setting the female supported and the overall FKT on the Arizona Trail. Mount Tam 50K was this weekend, and that's one of my favorite 50Ks. I ran that I think 3 times.
Yeah. I'd love to run this race.
When we first moved to San Francisco, a little over 6 years ago, I signed up for this race. I moved in October, and and the race is in November, and I signed up for it. And I wasn't really that well trained, and going from flat Michigan, this race had like 6,800 feet of climbing, and I'm like thinking to myself, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I had a calf injury too, and the morning of the race, we get there and it's super smoky from wildfire smoke that moved into the area, and they ended up canceling the race. Like, as I was pulling in the parking lot, they're telling us that the race was canceled. I'm like, maybe it was fate canceled that race for me. But I did get to go back and run it. It's pretty cool. It goes up steep ravine trail. It goes down to Muir Woods. It goes out into the Tennessee Valley, and it goes back, to Cardiac, and then back down into Muir Woods, and then back down Dipsy Trail to the finish. It's a good race, a lot of climbing, some of the better trails in the Mount Tam area.
It starts and finishes at the same spot, right?
It does. It starts and ends in Stinson Beach. You and I went to Stinson Beach when we did our Mount Tam run that one day.
Mm-hmm. Stinson Beach is there's like a little, like, you cross the road. And as soon as you cross the road, you start to climb up, and that's where we saw that banana slug, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Stinson Beach back behind us, right?
Exactly.
That is a super cool area, yeah.
Yeah.
See, I remember because of the banana slug.
lot of banana slugs in the wet times at the area. But Ryan Becker got first, 3 hours and 54 minutes. Jacob Banta second, 3 hours 58. Alex Solberg 4:31. And then for the women, Lindsay Allison first, 4:35. Emma Luthen second, 4:53. Laura Williams rounding out the podium, 4:54. So congrats to all them.
3:54.
I don't know how anybody can do a sub 4 hour at this race, but seems like somebody does it every year.
I'm hard pressed to run a sub 4 Columbus Marathon. Flat road marathon.
Yeah.
I'm hard pressed to run a sub 4 there. That dude's knocking out a 354 at TAM.
Yeah.
Golly,
I'm looking at previous years, and you got to go, 2021 David Sinclair ran a 3:47 there. Drew Holman ran that year at 3:48.
Dude, that is wild. That's wild.
I'm guessing those are probably the fastest times. Yeah, I'm looking at. I don't see anything else faster than those times. So, pretty impressive. We also had a race called the Looking Glass 100K, and looks like it's only been going on. The 100K has only been going on for 2 years, and this is in Pisgah. God dang it! I knew there was a way to pronounce that. I'm glad you remembered.
This by the way, this is one of my favorite parts of the country too. This is absolutely beautiful part of the country, and it's kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of impressive they're able to hold that race. Like, I really hope a ton of money went to the flood victims out there, because Pisgah National Forest is out around that. It's like western North Carolina. So it's actually kind of surprising they were able to hold that race out there. I'm really glad they were.
Yeah, it says that it's an extremely scenic tour of Pisgah around the unmistakable Looking Glass Rock, hitting multiple highlights in the area. It includes the high balls of Black Balsam Knob, Tennant Mountain above 6,000 feet. The course is one single large loop and quite possibly the most scenic 100K race on the East Coast. So that sounds like it would be pretty cool. A little bit of everything: smooth single track, technical single track, grassy double track, gravel, a short bit of pavement. The course starts and ends at the field across from Davidson River Campground near the Pisgah Ranger Station. Passes through multiple ecosystems along its journey: acid and rich cove hardwood forest to thick boreal balsam woods found in more northern climates, and to high elevation mountain balls with incredible long range views. Passes by multiple waterfalls and moss covered streams. Some will require crossing. And absolutely stunning course and unrivaled anywhere else on the East Coast. So sounds like that'd be a pretty cool race.
That would be a super cool one. I'm trying to go ahead.
I would say I didn't look it up to see how much climbing there was in that race, but
the 60K is 12,284.
The 100K, 62 mile. Yeah. 12, over 12,000. Yeah. Yep. So pretty decent amount of climbing then.
Yeah. And it looks like it, I mean, I'm looking at a Strava of it. I don't know. For the first, you get to about mile 10, you're kind of on a douchey climb up to about 10.5 miles. You drop down, but then at like mile 14, you begin a pretty solid climb for 7 miles up to mile 21. And then after that, man, after that climb up to mile 21, you got a nice, pretty runnable stretch all the way out. I mean, for quite a while. Like, it's it's a good run. I mean, there's that one climb, but outside of that, this looks like a race that you could probably have a lot of fun at. Like it's not going to kill you. You know what I mean? Yes, there's 12,000 feet of climb, but I mean that's over 100K, so it's not crazy. It's not crazy. Now it's East Coast, so you're going to be tripping up the rocks and roots, and you're probably not bombing the downhills, but I don't know. Pretty cool looking
looks
race.
like some of the trails pretty nice though. I'm looking at some of that. So yeah, cool. Okay, so looking at the results, Randy Elliott was first, 11 hours and 30 minutes. Bhushan Suresh second, 11. Oh, so first and second were really close. So first, Randy Elliott was 11:30 and 23 seconds. Bhushan Suresh was 11:30 and 48 seconds. So literally 25 seconds separated first and second place.
Yeah.
And Reese Wells was third, 11:53. Marissa Romeo was first for the women, 12:17. And Jennifer Kurtz, 15:51, second for the women. Michelle Gray, third, 15:53. Looking Glass 100K in Pisgah, Forest, North Carolina. That's the town then, Pisgah Forest.
And so just kind of like, it's kind of fun. So I'm trying to think of like Pisgah. This would be for the beer snobs in the world. This is southwest of Asheville.
Okay.
So it's pretty rough, but it is also really cool because it did mention those waterfalls. It is really tell you what, man, I might add to my long growing list of races. This one might creep on there because this one sounds pretty cool.
Have you heard of this race before, Josh?
No, this is the first time I'm hearing of this one. But yeah, it sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's a newer 100K. Looks like they had a different distance. They had a 50 miler in 2018 and 2019, and then they made it 100K in 2023 and 2024. They didn't have anything between 2019 and 2023.
So I'm like 99.9% positive. Like I am like really, 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 really pretty positive that this race is also affiliated with like Mount Mitchell Heartbreaker, Hellbender. I think they're affiliated with Hellbender. Like all of I think these are all under that same umbrella. I'm like 99% positive.
Yeah, Hellbender is that's super tough. That's a hard rock qualifier now.
That's a straight soul snatcher. Yeah, that thing would take your heart from you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Did you have anything else to say about that, Johnny? Sorry.
Nope. Other than I just got added to my list.
Yeah. Dead Horse Ultra. I had not heard of this race until I was researching for the show. This is in Moab, and apparently it's a pretty big race. There was 399 finishers in the 50K.
Golly days.
Yep. And it looks like, let me go back to Ultra Running Magazine's race results. There was multiple records that were either close or set. Let's see. In the 50K, Anders Hikely ran the second fastest men's time in 11-year history to take the win in 3 hours and 9 minutes. So this is a super fast race. Caleb Olson was second with the third fastest course time in 3 hours and 16 minutes. Joshua Everly third, 3 hours and 27. In the women's 50K race, Soleil Gaylord was she won and finished ninth overall and ran the second fastest women's course time ever, 3:53. Laura Cortez second, 4:03, and Skylar Dalziel 4 hours and 10. And then in the 50-mile event, none other than Sarah Beal. Sarah Beal and Lucy Rathbun both ran under the previous cord record time and finished second and third overall on the podium. Sarah Beal had a course record 7 hours and 10 minutes for the 50-mile, and Rathbun was second in 7 hours and 21. And Natalie Nicholson was third and eighth overall in 7 hours and 32 minutes. So,
dude, I'm telling you, Sarah's sweet spot is the 50-miler.
Yeah.
It's the dude. I mean, look, what was it? What 2 years ago she won JFK, right? She won JFK 2 years ago. It is what it is. She. I feel like I maybe not remembering data perfectly, but I feel like she's kind of struggled at 100Ks. But then she goes out and she sets the record at this 50-miler. And oh, by the way, she doesn't set the record at this 50-miler. She is, I don't know, a quick glance across. It looks like the closest was 12 minutes behind her. She beat the previous by 12 minutes. So, I mean,
yeah.
Well, she is a monster, dude. She is so good at the 50-miler.
And in the 50K at Gorge Waterfalls, she got first this year.
So, see?
Yeah.
She could just make an absolute killing as a 50K 50-miler.
Last year at Beaver Flat 50 in Canada, she got first. She got second at the Tamalpa Headlands 50K, which is in Muir Beach. That's like in the Tennessee Valley there in Marin.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That is awesome.
And JFK first, as you mentioned, in 2022, which that's insane to get first at JFK.
And I think that was her first ultra.
Could be.
Like, it's just, hey, Josh, I'm seeing something on this, like I'm seeing something. I wonder if this is something that you're aware of that you use day in and day out as like when you're running and stuff like that. I know you use that one park a lot that you talked about. You kind of got memorized. Have you ever looked at I guess it's an all trails thing that has like the surface rating? Have you ever seen that before, or you know anything about it?
No, I've never looked at it before.
Yeah, Jamie, I don't know if you. Yeah, I don't know if you see it, Jamie. Like, it has this rated as a 3 surface rating. On the one Ultrarunning magazine's like little like synopsis of it, it gives it like a 3 surface rating. Some rocks, roots, and or ruts. Like, I've never seen that. That's got to be coming from Ultra or something like that.
Ultrarunning magazine.
Do we know what the scale goes from? Like,
I would assume it's got to go to 10, right? Like, there's no way they call that average. Like, I think
it's 5. It's unique.
Oh, really?
This is unique to Ultrarunning magazine. When they used to have their articles in the magazine, and they would talk about the different races, or they'd have a write up for a race. They have the surface rating, they have the elevation rating. You know, how much climbing. Yeah. And it gives ranges for the ratings, but 3 surface rating is some rocks, root, and or ruts. So it's not.
It can't be. I guess that's what are we talking about? We're in the middle of the Moab. How many effing roots could there possibly be? Like, what?
Well,
a root of what?
Yeah, there is some. Like, you run on some slick rock there.
Yeah.
So that's probably where that comes in. 3.
I do like the idea of the elevation rating, just so everyone now knows. Also, I wasn't aware of this. For a 50K, if it's between 2,500 feet to 7,500 feet in 50 miles, it's considered hilly. thus a level 3 rating. Who knew? Who knew? I've never heard that before. It's kind of interesting.
Yep. So, yep. And then it also tells you how many aid stations there are. It tells you how the course goes. Is it a lollipop or is it out and backs, point to point, mixture, and how much climbing and descending there are. In the 50K, this says 414 finishers on Ultra Sign Up, even though it said 399 on the other page. But Anders Hikeley, we already went over the results. So
yeah.
We're all good there. Then in the 50 miler, Franklin Riley's first 7:05. Oh, I guess we talked about those too, because Sarah Beals.
Yeah.
All right, we already went over all these results, so
we done did it.
Ignore that. All right, let's move on to the Wild Hare. Oops, not that one.
Not that one. Get that nonsense.
The Wild Hare Race in Warda, Texas. This is a Tejas Trails event. Tejas Trails put on Bandera at the beginning of the year in January, which used to be a golden ticket race, but it's not anymore. But this one looks like it's pretty nice. It's on a privately owned Texas ranch and adventure park. It's a 10K loop, and it says it allows new runners to get a feel for trail running, allows experienced runners the opportunity to try new strategies, fueling and diet, as well as hammer out a fast race. So,
oh man, there you go, Josh.
Yep.
There you go. Just found your next race for next year.
Yep. From the picture, it looks pretty nice. You might have to do some more reconnaissance on how the whole course actually is, but could be a pretty non-technical, nice race, and a good time of year in Texas, I'd say, in November. So
yeah.
In the 50K, Lane Rogers was 4 hours and 47 minutes for first. Buck Baker, 4 hours 52 second, and Philip Arneson third, 4:56. What, you like that, his name?
Buck Baker.
That's right.
Bro, tell me you're from Texas
without telling me you're from Texas.
Buck Baker. Running Wild Hare 50K. I'm Buck Baker. Like, all right, man. Gotcha.
That's right.
Oh, man. That's
Mariana Rakai was first for the ladies in 6 hours and 59 minutes. Jessie Winnett, second for the women, 7 hours and 1 minute. And Alyssa Harms rounding out the podium for the women, 7 hours and 12 minutes. And that was in the 50K. Also a 50-mile, John Waggle, 9:14 for first, and Julie Schmal first for the women, 10 hours and 27. The last race result, or it's not even a race. The last thing I want to talk about is another FKT that caught my eye. And okay, so everybody knows about the Grand Canyon, rim to rim to rim. It's kind of a rite of passage for ultra runners. So the traditional route is you start on the south rim and you go down the South Kaibab Trail, and then you cut across the canyon floor and you go up the North Kaibab Trail, and then you go back the same way. So it's basically an out and back from South Rim to North Rim.
My friend Ryan just did that.
Oh, no shit.
He did it like in October.
Oh, cool.
So he wasn't racing it or anything. But yeah, he did the whole rim to rim to rim deal with a couple friends. And yeah, so like that's why he wasn't going to do the whole 50 with me. Because he was just coming off of that. But he still did 20 of it with me. But yeah.
What's the matter? Was his leg sore?
Well,
you know,
speaking from experience, there's something about that takes it out of you. And I don't, October is a great time of year to do rim to rim to rim. I did it at the beginning of April. We got lucky. The snow had just melted, or the ice pretty much melted off the trail. But climbing back up the South Rim on the way back is just the most biggest grind ever. It's just really difficult. And by the numbers, it doesn't look like anything crazy that, 46 miles, like 9,500 feet of climbing. It's a lot of climbing in 46 miles, but nothing like I haven't done before. But I did it with my friend Sean out here, running friend, and we were both just like, what in the heck is going on? Like that climb out of the canyon was very difficult. But so rim to rim to rim, Jim Walmsley holds the record in 5 hours and 55 minutes, which is just insane. Like it's not even fathomable. I don't know how that's possible. So there's different variations of rim to rim to rim. And you have the regular rim to rim to rim, which we just talked about. and then you have, let's see, you have like the 2 times rim to rim to rim, which Jeff Browning holds the FKT for the men on. And actually, we ran into Jeff Browning, Bronco Billy, when we were out doing rim to rim to rim. He was out there running, and he blew by us going up North Rim.
Jeez.
And then it wasn't much longer when he was already coming back down. We were just like, Jesus. Then there's 3 times rim to rim to rim, which Christof Teuscher holds the FKT. And this is who we're going to talk about today, because Christof Teuscher just set the 6 times rim to rim to rim. So that's literally 6 out and backs on the Grand Canyon.
I came in what's the math on that? How many miles does that end up being?
I think it's, if you take the route that they take for the FKT, it's around I believe it's around 43 miles and 9,500 feet of climb. It's 44 miles and 10,500 feet of climbing. So if you do 44 times 6, that's 264 miles and 10,500.
Rim to rim. Wait, rim to rim? No, rim to rim. So just across is 44, or is it across and back is 44?
Across and back, yeah.
Okay, across and back is 44.
So 63,000 feet of climbing.
Late days.
And 264 miles in the Grand Canyon too, which this time of year it could be cold at night. It could be hot during the day. It could be rain. It could be snow. You never know. But Christof, and his name is the only one on here for 6 times rim to rim to rim. So I don't know if this is something that is just created by him, but 5 days, 5 days, 10 hours, and 24 minutes for that. So
I like that he just skipped the 5, right? Like he holds the 3, holds the 3, he holds the 4.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what, Brandon? It's cool, man. You go ahead and hold on to that 5 timer. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out this 6.
Yeah.
Right? Like what a flex. What a flex. Hey, you know what, Brandon? I don't need that punk ass 5 timer.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just go get this 6.
Yeah.
What an absolute flex.
And I do recommend that everyone check out the Ultrarunning History podcast. There are a series of episodes that Davy Crockett did on the Grand Canyon, rim to rim to rim. And there's, I believe, it's been a while since I heard these episodes, but I think there's somebody that's done it like 10 times, or there's yeah, there's some pretty amazing accomplishments.
Yeah.
So it'd be worth.
I started listening to that when I heard you guys talking about it.
Oh, yeah?
So I've only heard I think I've heard 4 episodes so far.
Yeah.
And none of the rim to rim episodes, but I've heard some of the ones that you did on the Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
And they're super interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing how big the sport of endurance walking was back in the early 1900s and late 1800s. It was bigger than any sport in the U.S. even,
Yeah.
and people don't really even know about that.
Yeah.
But yes, super interesting to hear about that. It's good. It's good if you just need something, some mind-numbing stuff to kill some time, and it's just kind of pretty interesting, really. Davey does a nice job. And speaking of Davy Crockett, and
look at Josh with the perfect segue.
That's right.
Totally unaware of it, completely unaware. Josh with the excellent segue, talking about Hall of Famers, talking about Davy Crockett. Bam! We have an Ohio legend.
So Davy Crockett is the keeper of not only does he do the Ultrarunning History podcast, he's also the keeper of the Ultrarunning Hall of Fame, which does exist. And a new person was inducted into the Hall of Fame just recently, and that was Ohio's own Connie Gardner. And she's from Akron. Connie has got a pretty impressive resume, and she didn't start running till her late 30s because she did a marathon, I think, when she was younger, but she had children and had a busy family life. But her late 30s, she started running ultras, and she was a national champion 12 times at different distances, 50 miles, 100K, 100 miles, 24 hours. She's finished at least 180 ultras, nearly 100 wins, 3 wins at JFK 50, 37 course or event records throughout that time. And she was a member of the U.S. National 100K and 24-hour team for many years. And looks like she ran cross country in high school, all conference honors, attended University of Massachusetts on the rowing team, ran her first marathon, the Columbus Marathon, at age 17 in 1981, finished in 4 hours and 11 minutes. Then at age 36 is when she ran her first 50K, the Groundhog Fall 50K in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. She finished 3rd at that event. And then she tried a 50-miler in Kentucky, and she won that 8 hours and 53 minutes. And then in 2001, she won all the ultras that she finished, including her first 100-miler, which is the Mohican Trail 100, which is kind of like the Ohio's flagship.
That's the one me and Johnny are doing, right?
That's right.
Hey, listen, man, I will commit to this right here, right now. I will commit to this. You come up to run Mo, and I will 100% be there, some shape, form, or capacity. Whether you want me to trip and fall along with you on the course, or if you just want me to be there to cram food down your throat at aid stations. You come up and run Mo this spring, and I'll 100% be there.
Oh, well, we got to get you on the course for sure.
Let's go. I'll hobble my old broke ass around that course a few more times for you.
I would make every effort to be there to crew if that happens. Yeah. So Connie, let's see. Yeah. So in 2001, she won Mohican and all the other ultras that she ran in. In the years to come, she won Mohican 6 times, the 100 6 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And And then 2002, she tried to run on the road at Edmund Fitzgerald 100K in Duluth, Minnesota. She won her first national championship in 8 hours and 30 minutes, earning the place on the 100K national team. And then the next month, she won JFK 50, which we talked about. She won 3 times. She added a 100-mile national championship to her 100K championship in the Olander Park 100, which Olander Park is a little park in Sylvania, Ohio, which is actually one town away from where I grew up. So I've been to Olander Park several times as a kid.
Causing trouble.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe
smoking dope on the swing set.
Oh no! What? In 2006, Connie started to go beyond 100 miles, competing in a 24-hour. In 2006, she finished third with 132 miles. That's when she got on the U.S. national team. And she set her sights on breaking the 24-hour road record of 145 miles. She missed it in 2006 by 49 yards because of miscommunication.
Oh.
And, yeah, brutal. And over the next 5 years, she tried to break the record 8 times. At 2011 North Coast 24-hour in Cleveland, Ohio, you know that 24.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
She had another near miss, reaching 144.7 miles, and so she was literally a half mile away. And then at age 48, she got the American record at the 2012 24-hour championships in Poland, reaching 149.368 miles. Ultra wins, at least 36 wins from 2006 to 2012. Course records at Umstead 100, Laurel Highlands 70, and Burning River 100. She established event records at Ultra Centric 24-hour, North Coast 24-hour. She expressed desire to run Badwater for years. She finally got her chance in 2010, finished second. In 2015, she finished a Spartathlon in 15th place. And in her 50s, she's still going strong, averaging about 1 ultra a month. And the wins are continuing to pile up. Her last win came in 2019. During that year, she experienced the first time running 6-day race in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's like that 6 days in the dome or whatever.
That indoor one, yeah, gross.
Yeah. Gross. That's like, I think that's like a 1/10 of a mile track or something.
Oh no, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Josh, that will bring you back to your days of wrestling. You know, remember like those years of wrestling when like you're in that gym or you're in that locker room, like
wearing the trash bag.
Yeah, that
running circles around the mat.
Yeah.
Oh my
all that
God.
like all that funk and smell is just built up in there. Could you imagine what that indoor track smells like after 6 days? Gross.
No.
During the pandemic in 2020, she managed to run 100 miles in 17 hours and 50 minutes at the age of 56, which is a American women's 55 age group record for 100 miles. So she coached cross country and pretty solid resume.
Could you imagine? Like, where does it say where she coaches cross country at?
No. I think it's at more than one school though.
Could you imagine like okay, if it's high school, it's like 5K, right? If it's high school, it's a 5K. Yeah. But even if it's college, 5K, what course say? Yeah, 8K or 10K, right? If it's college, could you imagine though, like, oh, coach, I got a shin split. to Connie, like, shut up. Like, what are we talking about? Like, get out of there. Like, I can't imagine being a cross country runner. Like that would be insane to be coached by someone on that next high level of like it would just be so hard.
Yeah.
To wrap your head around those accomplishments. Like, but here's the wild thing. You would hang on every syllable she said.
Yeah.
Like if she told me to take a flying leaf off from a bridge, I'm like, bet, let's go. I can do what you do. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Like you just, holy cow.
That would be pretty cool. All right. Well, we're a little past time, but Josh, man, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. We really appreciate you listening to the podcast and reaching out and sharing your story with all the listeners. I'm sure it's very inspiring, and I'm sure everybody will get inspired by it. And we look forward to whatever you got going on next, and keeping in touch.
We look forward to that next race, Josh. Just let us know.
I'll let you guys know for sure what I end up signing up for next. I know I got just a couple of regular marathons, coming up in March and April. But
nice.
I'll let you know for sure, like when I get signed up for the next ultra.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Again, thanks a lot, Josh. Thanks for everything. Really appreciate it. Really, congratulations on the race. And we'll be sure to keep in touch.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. And again, we're off next week. So hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving, and gives thanks to the fact that we can get out there and do the sport we can do. And thank all your crew members, your family and friends.
Hit us up on Strava. Let's see those Turkey Trot 5K ultra marathons. Let's talk about some results in the Strava threads, and let's see what everybody's out there hammering out.
Heck yeah. Let's get it. Let's get it. All the out of shape whoever ran their 100 milers in the summer and has been taking the last couple months off. Let's see that.
Water around a 5. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. All right. We'll see y'all. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.